The millionaire is heartbroken when he discovers the black woman caring for his son is homeless. Nathaniel Black stood on the balcony of his penthouse, overlooking a city that was a dazzling illusion. Glimmering skyscrapers kissed the horizon while below, shadows flickered in alleyways. Life had numbed him, wealth wrapped around him like a thick fog. But that all changed when he received the heart-wrenching news. Mia, the caring woman nurturing his son, was living out of her car. His chest tightened as the bitter taste of betrayal bubbled in his throat. How could this be? He gripped the polished railing, knuckles white, anger and sorrow swirling within him like a storm. He'd known Mia for months, her laughter echoing in their home, bringing light to a father who often felt distant. With a gentle heart, she helped shape his young son into a little man, filled with kindness and curiosity. Yet he never thought to scratch beneath the surface of her smile. How could he? He was too busy conforming to the rigid expectations that came with being Nathaniel Black, billionaire and esteemed socialite. The idea that someone so devoted to his child could be living such a harsh reality shattered his carefully crafted world. The city below him was a tapestry of beauty and despair. Within a stone's throw, lavish bars and high-end boutiques thrived, while just out of sight lay a world filled with struggle. His mind raced. The media buzzed with headlines, but none compared to this shocking revelation that played on repeat like a broken record. What lay behind the perfect facade? A sudden realization gripped him. He was more a part of the problem than he cared to admit. Accompanied by urgency, he surged through the lavishly decorated corridors of his home, the walls adorned with art pieces that whispered tales of wealth and privilege. As he opened the door to his son's playroom, a cascade of toys greeted him. But there, amidst the colorful chaos, was the reality of his child's life. And Mia, living in a vehicle, wrestling against the world day by day. His heart raced. It felt wrong, unjust. How had he never seen this? Murmurs of disbelief filled Nathaniel's mind as he faced his own limitations. A hollow feeling nested inside him. He would confront her. He needed to know the truth. But just then, and all too conveniently, his conniving cousin Oliver drifted into his thoughts. A man who thrived in the shadows, always eager to capitalize on misfortunes. His presence loomed, contemplando coisas para vezarem qualquer adiantagem do fluxo de Nathaniel. Especulação soava nas folhas, existe o dinheiros. Nathaniel sentia a ansiedade no estômago. Será que Mia ficou contrastada na cepa de sei? Just as urgency steered his heart closer to Mia's fierce independence, Nathaniel stumbled upon a family secret that could unravel everything he'd begun to build, not just with Mia, but his very identity. Suddenly, a sharp vibration interrupted his thoughts. An anonymous message flickered on his phone screen, its cryptic tone sending chills racing down his spine. Someone knows about her. Protect her, or lose everything. The world around him fell into a suffocating silence, and the horizon no longer seemed so bright. Hey, before I continue with this amazing story, I have to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has deleted their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content. Oh, and while you're there, leave that mighty like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Nathaniel felt the weight of that chilling message cling to him like a shroud. Protect her, or lose everything. The city's skyline, once a breathtaking view, felt like bars of a golden cage. He swiped his phone screen, heart racing as dread pooled in his gut. Who knows about Mia? He whispered, mostly to himself. Anxiety clawed at his throat as he considered the potential enemies lurking in the shadows. He felt a surge of desperation, wanting to confront Mia now, to wrap the truth around her like a shield, to shield her from whatever darkness was looming. Suddenly, the door swung open, nearly slamming against the wall. It was Oliver, his cousin with sly eyes and a grin that made Nathaniel's skin crawl. A cold noite deitou em Nathaniel no estômago. Nathaniel, Oliver proclamou, a voz sentona se ede. Você é louco como vê fantasma. Com a sombra morta, Nathaniel feriu Moloco pela boca. Antes dele parir, pude responder. As luzes fecharam, plangando o penthouse em plena pausa elétrica. Nathaniel sorria pelos ouvidos. O coração suava. Ele parou perto do pódio, esperando poder apreciar a cidade, encontrar um senso no caótico. Um som ecoou como um garro de vidro no silêncio. Nathaniel sorria pela pedra e saiu do playroom. Uma explosão ratou as janelas, gleste mirante como estrelas sombridas. A dor é repentina e Nathaniel se espantou com alguma coisa na perna, seus braços brumoídos. De repente agachou. Oliver chamou uma coisa para reclamar, mas Nathaniel não ouviu. Here over the ringing in his ears, more lights flickered back on, revealing smoke wafting through the air. The chaos escalated, the world shifting into a frenzy. Nathaniel gripped his shoulder, warm blood trickling down his arm. Panic surged within him, mixing dangerously with the sorrow for Mia. Mia, he croaked, instinctively rising to his feet. He stumbled toward the playroom, desperate for her safety, and then he froze. There, in the center of the room, Mia stood with his son in her arms. Her eyes were wide with terror. Nathaniel, we have to. Before she could finish, two figures crashed through the door. Dark silhouettes emerged through the smoke, eyes glinting with malevolence. The intruders were masked, and Nathaniel's heart dropped. Everything he feared ignited in a violent flash. Let the boy go, one of them barked, voice heavy with malice. Nathaniel lunged toward Mia, but the figure raised a weapon, eyes narrowing menacingly. Time slowed, and Nathaniel's world tilted. Protect her, or lose everything. But how? The second intruder turned, and in a swift gesture tore off his mask. Nathaniel's blood ran cold. It was someone he knew well, someone he had never seen as an enemy. Surprise, cousin, Oliver sneered, a cruel grin stretching across his face. Reality fractured. Betrayal spread like poison in Nathaniel's veins. Was this all part of Oliver's twisted scheme? Did he orchestrate this nightmare? Everything flipped upside down. The truth felt like a wound, raw and unyielding. All the lies, all the secrets. How could it come to this? His heart raced, torn between protecting Mia, his son, and the crushing burden of betrayal. The room spun as he faced these daunting choices, unsure of what would happen next, unsure of everyone he thought he knew. With adrenaline pumping, he glanced at Mia. She was staring at him, terror in her eyes, but there was a deeper worry. A conexão anfurando, que ele não tinha graspo até agora. Ele falou, com voz ditada com urgência. Se tinham qualquer chance de sobreviver, tinham que escapar dessa farema. Acabou. As Mia hesitade, Nathaniel manda. O de será isso preste? O correr do novo horror levaria para a liberdade, ou mais profundo numa pesadela que ele nunca havia antecipado, e naquele momento secaço triplo deles interferindo-se em contra um ultra do Regissemar. Coração do Nathaniel pautando laudo no alto, desesperando peso às fiadas. Mas Mia ficou fresa, gripada por meio do caos, e naquele mesmo quarto o tempo se parou como os mascarados avançavam. Então algo aconteceu que Nathaniel nunca ficou esperando. Um crash erupteu atrás deles, e o som de pesados encheu o corredor. Sem visível, um alto figure barreled into the room, colliding with one of the intruders. It was a woman, fierce and determined, with a look of anger that could pierce the thickest darkness. She wore a leather jacket and had wild hair that framed her face like a halo of chaos. Nathaniel blinked, trying to place her. "Move," she commanded, tackling the masked intruder with a force that sent him sprawling to the ground. It was brutal. Punches flew and teeth gritted, but what caught Nathaniel's breath was the woman's face. He recognized those fierce eyes. They belonged to his sister, Samantha, whom he thought had vanished years ago, lost to a world of her own, tangled with secrets and shadows. "Samantha!" His voice cracked with disbelief, the name slipping from his lips like a prayer. She turned, eyes flaring with awareness. "Keep the boy safe!" she shouted, urgency flooding her tone. All Nathaniel could feel was this tidal wave of confusion crashing into him. She was, how? He had mourned her disappearance, grieved for the sister he presumed dead or worse. And now she stood before him, defying everything he believed. The second intruder lunged at her, and she instinctively ducked, delivering a swift kick that sent him reeling. Nathaniel was beside himself, watching the chaos unfold. Mia tightened her hold on their son, unsure what to make of the madness. "Don't just stand there. Get them. Out!" Samantha yelled again, throwing a violent left hook that sent the intruder staggering back. A flicker of recognition shot through Nathaniel, mingling with dread. What had Samantha been involved with? What had she turned into? The woman he once adored as a sister now fought with lightning aggression, and all he could think was that Oliver's twisted family played a hand in this. Just then a gunshot pierced the air. The loud bang jolted Nathaniel back to reality, and he felt as if the world was spinning out of control. He caught sight of Oliver lurking at the doorway, a sinister smile curling his lips. The last piece fell into place, and Nathaniel's gut twisted. "Samantha, look out!" he shouted, but the warning was too late. Samantha turned just in time to face Oliver, who pointed a gun straight at her. "Did you really think you could come back and play the hero after all these years?" Every muscle in Nathaniel's body tensed as he grasped for meaning. Why was Oliver targeting Samantha? What did she know? And more importantly, how could he protect Mia and their son in this storm of betrayal? Before Nathaniel could react, the gun went off again, and this time the bullet found its mark. A sickening thud echoed against the walls. As Samantha fell, the fight extinguished from her fierce eyes. "No! Samantha!" Nathaniel screamed, disbelief crashing over him like a tidal wave. His world disintegrated. All of the shadows he'd ignored came rushing back, swirling around him, leaving nothing but chaos. As the dust settled in that moment of horror, Nathaniel's heart shattered. He could feel a chasm yawning beneath him, a void where trust had once lived. Guilt clawed at him as he glanced at Mia, whose eyes mirrored his shock, but beneath the surface, a storm brewed. She didn't know everything. Yet the threads of their lives tangled tighter in tragedy. Could he still protect them? What truths would this moment unravel? And as the echoes of anguish filled the air, there lingered a powerful question. Who would survive the fallout of the secrets now laid bare? Nathaniel's world shattered in that fleeting moment. He stood there, shock gripping him as the reality of loss coursed through his veins like ice. Samantha lay on the floor, surrounded by a pool of crimson. The air thickened with panic, and it stank of smoke and betrayal. "Mia, take him, now!" he shouted again, churning with urgency, but the words barely filled the cavern of silence stretching between them. His mind raced, frantic thoughts colliding like a whirlwind. Would she listen? But before Mia could move, Nathaniel's phone buzzed on the floor, grabbing his attention. The screen lit up, illuminating Oliver's sneering face as the intruder laughed, a cruel sound that echoed no terror-laden domo. "Sou preditável, Nathaniel. A sua lealdade sempre foi sua força. Shut up, Nathaniel rezou, pressionando passar o choque, que tremia agarrá-lo em pé. Ele moveu, mãos nítidas, olhos pontados contra a oliveira. Já fizeste assim. Mas nessa vez, uma outra figura passou pela porta. Maior do que a resto. Ombros grossos, mexidos em sombra. E então, marcou uma bala de beisebol, impactando sobre o inimigo do mascarado. Madeiras explodiram, e Nathaniel, o seu braço rixou a lembrança. O novo trombão, revelando o rosto do semaco besplana de luz. O visto mais enxocante de tudo. A fada. O homem que havia perdido com dele de família. Secrets stood there in the flesh, determined and fierce. Mia, go, Marcus barked, his voice booming. But the power of his presence shattered the silence, shifting the chaos around them. Marcus! Nathaniel's voice cracked, grappling the enormity of it all. Is it really you? He had mourned his father, thought him dead, a victim of the family's endless cycle of lies. Yes, son. Now will you move? In a trance, Nathaniel watched as Marcus plunged into the fray, tackling Oliver with a ferocity he had never seen. Suddenly, the complexity of betrayal flooded Nathaniel's mind. What had happened behind the scenes? What had his father been doing all these years? But before Nathaniel could piece it all together, Mia finally acted. She grabbed their son and darted toward the exit, wide-eyed but determined. The door swung open, revealing the blinding light of the hallway. Freedom was so close, but Nathaniel felt a wrenching inside him, a weight of confusion and questions mingling with terror. Go! He shouted, both to Mia and himself. His heart raced as he felt his family, his very belief system, fracture before his eyes. Suddenly, the third intruder, the one who had remained silent, slipped past the chaos into clear view, shocking Nathaniel beyond comprehension. It was his mother, Gloria, her face twisted with conflicting emotions, holding a weapon aimed not at them, but at Marcus. You'll ruin everything, she yelled. Tears streaming down her cheeks, revelando tsunami de pandeiro. Tu acha que isso te salve? O ar sentia elétrico. Nathaniel peito na sua soma, coração flutuando incrédulo. Todos os pesos espalhados. Mas por que a mãe dele estava envolvida? Será que ela sabia a verdade? Ou estava agarradada na sua própria teia? Como o silêncio foi derramado, o ade a nuvem cais. O mundo se fechou ao redor dele. Ele olhava com decoração. As duas partes da sua família olhavam com beconcílio. Ele ouve até o fim da conversa. E surpresa foi. O verdadeiro inimigo não estava fora da porta. Era dentro. Mia, de volta, com o rosto pálido. Nathaniel, não podemos ficar. The true depths of betrayal loomed, and Nathaniel felt the weight of every truth crushing him. Could he choose a side? Who did he even trust anymore? In those frantic seconds, a gunshot rang out. Not from the outside, but from within. Nathaniel didn't know who had pulled the trigger, but he sank to his knees, heart racing, fear curling around him like a dark shadow. One thing was certain. The family bond was splintering, and as the echoes of the past collided with this devastating present, nothing felt real anymore. What had he known of love, loyalty, or sacrifice? All those years, all those secrets led to this moment of pure chaos, and he was caught. In the middle, the questions hung thick in the air, and as the room fell silent again, Nathaniel could only wonder, what had he just unleashed? Nathaniel sank to his knees, shock trapping him in place. The gory sight of his sister lay in front of him, a horrifying confirmation of everything he feared. But before the grief could fully settle, a low, rumbling sound echoed through the apartment, vibrantly disturbing the air around them. It was like a distant thunderclap, a warning that something was coming. Mia, get outside, he shouted, urgency clawing at his throat. But before she could respond, the walls shuddered and the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across Samantha's still body. Then, it happened. The windows shattered with a deafening crash as an explosion erupted from below. The shockwaves surged through the penthouse like an angry beast, knocking Nathaniel off balance. He hit the floor hard, breathless, everything going dark for a split second. But then he opened his eyes to chaos. Smoke and debris swirled like a storm, thick and choking. The masked intruder closest to Nathaniel staggered backward, eyes wide with fear. He and the other intruders, drawn into the chaos, faltered, unsure of their next move. Oliver stood frozen in disbelief as the reality of their surroundings crumbled like sand beneath their feet. "Run," Nathaniel gasped, scrambling to his feet. He fought through the debris, adrenaline surging. "We need to get out, now." Frantically, he looked for Mia amidst the chaos unfolding around them. Then, from out of the thickening smoke, Nathaniel saw someone emerge. A figure clad in dark military gear dashed through the chaos. It was a woman, her face obscured by a mask, but the intensity of her eyes shone through. She moved like a shadow, fierce and focused. Without hesitation, she lunged forward, kicking aside a fallen piece of furniture and confronting the intruders head-on. "Get away from them!" The power in her voice was electric, piercing through the disarray like a beacon of hope. Nathaniel's heart raced. Who was she? Was she a friend or another enemy? It didn't matter. In that moment, he needed help. But just as the fight intensified, Oliver sneered, his face twisted in anger. "Enough of this charade," he yelled. "You think you can just barrel in like some knight in shining armor?" With a mighty force, the woman leaped forward, tackling one masked intruder to the ground, and Nathaniel cheered silently. But just then, the ground quaked beneath them once more. Nathaniel felt it vibrating through his bones, and a wave of panic washed over him. That's when the unexpected both shook the room and flipped the narrative. A sudden, piercing alarm blared, resonance echoing within walls, mixing with abandoned cries and chaos. "Evacuate! Evacuate this building!" "Escompromise!" O tremo do Nathaniel foi ardente. Ele sentiu as porradas de dorder por ele. Mas o que passava sem sair daqui, a angústia intensa separava de si. Que perigo! Nesse momento todo, angústia arrasta de todos os pensamentos. Depois, quase que simbolicamente em maior reverência, e a cada bolso pode ter algo de execução. De mulher militar, virou a cabeça para enfrentar Nathaniel. Os olhos tinham um reconhecimento percipinte, fogo que se revelava, a máscara aborreceu, Rebecca, seu amigo de infância, a qual ele pensava perdido. Own battles, and yet, this was beyond anything he could comprehend. She was supposed to be gone, entangled in her own life, far from this world of privilege and deceit. "What are you doing here?" he stammered, confusion blossoming in his chest. But as she opened her mouth to respond, another blast rocked the building, sending a wall crumbling down. It felt as if the world tilted again. Reality spun into madness, and everything Nathaniel thought was solid began to dissolve. "Run! Follow me!" Rebecca shouted, urgency flooding her voice as she reached for Nathaniel's hand. In that frantic moment, he realized everything he thought he knew was crumbling like the walls around them. What secrets had she carried? His mind whirled. Was Oliver part of this too? Did Samantha's return even matter? As they sprinted toward the emergency exits, Nathaniel felt a cold grip of terror. Nothing made sense anymore. Then came the darkness, and Nathaniel was left with one heavy final thought. Would they all survive to uncover the truth that lay hidden beneath layers of betrayal? Would the explosion be their salvation or the end of everything?
Desesperação cloiu a ele quando rodou para o impossível. Nathaniel sentiu o peso do caos quando sprintou para a saída da emergência, o coração batendo no seu beijo. Os sons da destruição ecoaram em ensue, urgência em.
Every step. This way, she urged, glancing back at Nathaniel with fierce determination in her eyes. He could barely keep pace, thoughts swirling like debris in the air. Samantha lay hurt, trapped in moments of horror that felt too heavy to bear. How had everything unraveled so quickly? Just moments ago, he thought they could possibly survive the twisted maze of betrayal. But now it was all crumbling down. As they dashed through the hall, smoke curling around them like fingers, Nathaniel's mind raced. Shadows danced in his peripheral vision. Mia and their son followed closely, fear etched into her features. He needed to protect them, needed to break free from this nightmare. But suddenly, a
deafening crash sentemos estambulando. Uma parede bancou, colapsando para dentro, como se o velho já estivesse definhando. Rebecca se entrou, e Nathaniel colocava seu grito vicidenta. Esteja comigo. Cafunindo, Nathaniel sentiu a desesperação clavando por ele. Mas não podia terminar o pensamento. Não enquanto Neo precipita contra o desconhecido. De repente, um som penetrante e charpante em pensar. Uma voz familiar. The voice echoed from the shadows ahead, slipping through his memories like a ghost. And then, out of the chaos, a figure emerged, drenched in dust, face bruised and bloodied. It was Oliver. Fear turned to anger instantaneously. What do you
want? Nathaniel spat, confusion heating his blood. How could he still be in the picture? Oliver laughed, a high-pitched, twisted sound that sliced through the smoke. You're too late, cousin. The game has changed. And with those words, everything shifted. Oliver brandished a small device in his hands, and a malicious grin spread across his face. You see, I've set it all in motion. And your sister? She was just a little pawn. The breath hitched in Nathaniel's throat. What are you talking about? Did you really think you could escape me? Oliver sneered. You've been playing checkers while I'm the one playing chess. The explosion? My doing. The fight? Just part of the show. Shock.
Reverberou tu Nathaniel os bons. Tudo que ele tem tão cochilado parecia uma casa de cartas bem desejada por todos. Vocês têm parece que é pessoal. Quem está no meio desse negócio, ela também tem estado atenta à culpa de compra de cargas. You never even consideraste que os amos a Maria possam detrair-te também. O tempo se alentizava como as paredes constantemente. O final empoderava-se de um brado por rochas, desconfiando cada vez mais intenso.
Fingas arriscara, ela.
Foi. Depois, uma voz terrível secou dentro da aula. Nathaniel sentiu o coração tremendo. Pieda. Entrou ainda mais um ranço de titãs. Tirou uma folha. Por quê? Seu filho, teado, começou a tombar em feridas pela folhação. Oliver. Relou, olhos brada com raiva. Foi ali, no flash de desespero, Nathaniel languiu para Oliver. Adrenalina flodia as veias como fogo. Naquele momento, a realidade perdeu estabilidade. O que é Oliver?
A dark truth. What if Mia was intertwined in this wicked game?
Everything spiraled as Nathaniel charged forward, the world around him blurred by the sheer force of his resolve. But the shadow of uncertainty lingered, choking him, wrapping his mind in a dark veil. And just as they collided, the ground shook again, an ominous rumble reverberating through the halls. Nathaniel's heart raced, sensing doom creeping closer. Time hung heavy, caught in a moment of reckoning. Whatever would unfold from this collision, it was more than a fight. It was the unraveling of everything he believed. The darkness thickened, and Nathaniel wondered,
Would he be able to rescue what was left? Or was this just the beginning of a far more sinister plot that would reshape their futures forever? Nathaniel lunged at Oliver, fury blazing in his eyes. The adrenaline had him fueled, and for a moment everything else faded away. The smoke, the chaos, the memories of betrayal. "You've done this long enough," he shouted, hands clenching into fists. But just as their bodies collided, another explosion shook the floor beneath them. The ceiling creaked, shards of plaster raining down like snow. Nathaniel stumbled back, vision blurred with dust. A thick cloud enveloped them, and through it he saw Oliver stagger but regain his footing, rage still written across his face. "You have no idea what game you're in," he yelled, voice rough, as if it were meant for the whole world to hear. "Mia!" Nathaniel's heart raced as he caught sight of her struggling against the masked intruder, desperately trying to protect their son. He felt hollow, time fracturing around him as he fought to break free of Oliver's oppressive grip. "Let her go," he roared, pushing through the chaos. The masked figure released Mia, but Nathaniel barely registered the moment. He darted towards her, eyes wide and desperate. "Mia, are you okay?" he gasped, grabbing her waist, relief flooding him. But then, a sudden shout cut through the din, an agonizing scream from somewhere deep within the mist. "No, not again. You can't just leave me." Every light inside Nathaniel dimmed. That voice. Thor had been declared dead long ago, his best mate and confidant gone from this world. How could he be here? His heart sank cold as ice. Before Nathaniel could comprehend it all, a wild card of chaos shot through the air. Just next to him, out of the shadows, came another figure. A black-haired woman with eyes that swept over the scene like a hawk. She was shaking her head, a wild smile plastered across her face. "It's time to end this little show," she shouted, a haunting melody in her tone. In her hands was a detonator, finger poised above the button as if it were a cigarette. Rebecca. Nathaniel esperto, choque gripando ele. Mas não era aquela moça que tinha crescido com ele. Essa era estranha, fera e caótica, com perigo se perto atrás de cada palavra. Achou que podia sair, conquistar a verdade. Ela risava amarga e selvagem. O peso do que estava acontecendo se previa de Nathaniel como uma tsunami. A traição não era mais ligada apenas a Oliver. A confusão virou a terror agora. O C planejou isso. He managed, the words feeling foreign on his tongue. "Not just me," she shrugged, eyes glinting with mischief. "We're all part of the same game. Family means nothing in this world." Murmurs erupted from the remaining players in the room. Nathaniel's breath came hard. "No, you're lying. Samantha is gone, like the rest of the trash in a broken family. Você está muito ocupado fingindo ser herói, Nathaniel," she taunted, lifting the detonator higher. "I'll make sure this all ends now." And before anyone could comprehend, she pressed down. Silence fell, a stillness that felt heavy, suffocating. Nathaniel's heart stopped as the world held its breath. Then came the roar. The power of the blast slammed against him. Everything colapsou. Walls, hopes, ecos de passado que ele conhecia por aí. E enquanto Nathaniel leitaria, gaspando tolado entre debris, pedaços do tecido da sua vida modelado à sua volta, a verdade ficou profundamente clara. Strings muito por a língua, manipulado pela traição mais justa do que ele pudesse prever, com o poeira resgatando, Nathaniel olha para Mia e pondo em seu filho. Estavam bem ou não, e ele mesmo. Sombras flickeram em seu mente com a realização apagadora de que o jogo mudou e ele ainda não saberia como jogá-lo. E naquele momento, debaixo das águas, tudo o que fala sobre a vida dele estava em questão. Se havia como profundo ponto de volta desse pedaço apenas um perigo. Ao redor, ele pousou na pele, e o sentimento seguido com casa e lhe aposenta. Mia, seu filho, onde estavam? Dor tupou seu ombro. Mais grave, era a chama a esse de baixo. Conta com medo positivo de parque. O cara se afastava, desesperado, e pensava no que aconteceu. Ávida. Ele spotou Mia. Ela estava chegando, agarrando o filho deles, quando se trancavam em direção. O rezepe seco assassina, mas sempre eles estavam femindas. Corrimoi. Medo. Parece que foi tão mais brutal, arrancado e menos forte. O que dava isso sentiu a alma da benção, que continuava numa tenda a Eva, onde estava. Agora, o tempo, a unida.
Are you both okay? He asked, scrambling toward them. The world felt surreal, fragments of life colliding in chaotic bursts. Just as he reached them, a thunderous boom shook the ground again. This time, it was different. It rumbled like an angry beast waking from slumber. Nathaniel glanced back, dread churning in his stomach. What's happening? But before he could voice his fears, Rebecca stood tall, that detonator still in her hands. Her wild eyes flickered with something dark. You really thought you could escape this mess? She said, her voice steady, almost haunting. You're all part of it, just pawns in my game. Nathaniel's heart sank. Rebecca, stop, he pleaded, stepping forward, blocking her path. But the ground trembled, fragments of ceiling tiles raining down, forcing him to shield Mia and their son. With a swift movement, Rebecca pressed the button again. A blinding flash erupted. Time stretched as pain exploded in Nathaniel's body, a searing heat engulfing him. He felt himself lift off the ground, weightless, spiraling through the air as darkness claimed him. Then, silence. When Nathaniel opened his eyes, he was somewhere else entirely. No smoke, no chaos, just an eerie stillness. The ground felt solid beneath him, but something was off. He was in an empty room, bright light pouring in from the massive windows. He squinted, disoriented, trying to regain his focus. Mia, he voiced, voice hoarse. Where are you? There was no response. Anxiety prickled along his skin. He stood up slowly, looking around. Everything was pristine, almost sterile, and shadows flitted at the edges, strange and unsettling. Then, through the haze, shapes began to materialize. People emerged from the shadows, familiar faces, etched with emotion. It was his family, all of them, including Samantha, standing tall and defiant. But there was something different about her. There was a spark in her eyes, a knowing that sent chills down Nathaniel's spine. Suddenly, the air crackled with tension. Nathaniel, you shouldn't be here, Samantha shouted, stepping forward. You have to go back. They can't know. What? Who are they? Nathaniel asked, confusion mounting. A sudden realization began to dawn on him. The room felt too controlled, too orchestrated. What is this place? He felt the walls closing in, panic clawing at him. Just then, Oliver stepped into view, a smirk spreading across his face. Welcome back to the family, Nathaniel. This is just the beginning. You thought you knew everything, but the truth is far darker than you imagined. Time slowed as Nathaniel's breath hitched. What truth? Before he could grasp the response, Oliver laughed, a chilling echo. Everyone here is playing a role. They're not who you think, and neither are you. The life you've lived? Just a façade. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud, ready to burst. Nathaniel's mind spiraled. What game had he stumbled into? What secrets lay hidden beneath the elegant surface of his life? As reality began to warp around him, Nathaniel grasped the magnitude of betrayal. With shocking clarity, he realized the worst was yet to unfold. What if everything he believed was a lie? And in this wild maze of truth and deception, could he ever trust again? The darkness stretched before him, threatening to consume him whole. Nathaniel's mind reeled.
as he faced the truth of Oliver's twisted game. Everything he'd believed was pulled from beneath him like a rug. Sam stood before him, torn between loyalties, with the dark smirk of Oliver painting a
grotesque picture em his mind. Mas depois que uma nova presença entrou na rua, e o ar se desencadeou. Ainda na mente da mãe, o barro. Ao final, o contraste. Nathaniel entrou na porta e dizendo: "Ô mãe, o que você está fazendo aqui?" E ela estava forte, mas o brilho nos seus olhos era menoso, refletindo algo bem mais sinistro. Você não está preparado para isso.
For the truth. No, this doesn't make sense. He stumbled back, confusion wrapping around him like vines. You're supposed to be on our side. And then, with a flick of her wrist, she revealed a small device, pulsing with a red light, reminiscent of the detonator Rebecca had just wielded. I'm afraid I've made my choice. The words dripped with a kind of cold finality. Before Nathaniel could react, Gloria pressed down on the device. The building roared to life again, this time with a fervor that shook the very foundation beneath them. Smoke billowed through the room, thick and choking, as the alarms blared. Mia screamed, clutching their son tighter. Panic set in. As damoias pegaram-se tremer pesadamente pelos ombros. "We have to get out!" Ela gritou, com olhos morfos. Mas por que Nathaniel caiu a palavras pelo seu coração? Como pudera ser tocado? O face dele pareceu morfar em algo mais monstruoso, reflexo de escolhas ocultas. Está tarde, Nathaniel. Você não entende o que tem, amiga. Glória chorou, a voz acima do caos. Tudo o que eu fiz foi para proteger a herda da família. Você tem que acordar. A verdade não é gentil, conta. Então, num flash brilhante, a casa parecer explodir com cores. Nathaniel Cucci barely processed the reality as people rushed in, frantic and wild-eyed. "Get out," someone yelled from the growing crowd. It was his cousin, Oliver, now a figure of rage and desperation. "This is the only way. We can't let him win." "Who's winning?" Nathaniel shouted, trying to piece together the cacophony of betrayal unfolding around him. Everyone had turned on each other, and the revelation of Gloria's dark motives twisted like a knife in his gut. "Mom, you can't." He fought through the crashing panic. What did she know that they didn't? In that moment, the floor shook again, and the lights flickered more violently. A loud bang echoed, a wrenching sound that twisted Nathaniel's stomach. A fresh wave of dust enveloped them, leaving everything hazy. But then, amidst the chaos, something unexpected happened. As if the universe itself shifted, a hush fell over the crowd. The tension melted as they turned towards a figure standing in the doorway, one they were not prepared for. Thor. Nathaniel's heart raced. His best friend, thought lost or dead, stood there, unscathed, a fire in his eyes. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded, stepping into the room. The unexpected arrival sent ripples of confusion through the gathered family. Shock registered on both Oliver's and Gloria's faces. "You shouldn't be here," Oliver shouted. But Thor shook his head, defiance etched in every line of his face. "I know it all, Oliver. I know the truth about what you've done. This ends now." Nathaniel stood there, emotions swirling. Could he trust Thor? Did he really understand the depth of what was happening? And in that moment, before the tension could unravel further, everything exploded into chaos once again. The ground cracked and the walls groaned. Relationships disentangling, destinies reweaving, secrets spilling into raw light. Nathaniel felt the foundations of his world collapsing. The truth was still hidden, lurking beneath layers of betrayal and deception. Would they all make it out alive? And deeper still, would he be ready for whatever truth awaited him on the other side? Nathaniel stood, heart racing as he processed the sight before him. The ground trembled. The walls quaked. He could feel the pulse of chaos all around. Yet there was Thor, alive, as real as the truth Nathaniel had been seeking. The room was a whirlwind of betrayal and revelation, and every moment felt like an eternity. "Mia, take our son and get out," Nathaniel yelled, urgency pushing his voice to the brink. But the moment was heavy with fear and confusion. Mia held on tight, shock plastered on her face. "Not without you," she cried, her grip on their child firm. A sudden screech of metal on metal cut through the haze, and with it, a battle. Ignite between Oliver, his mother e Rebecca. Words fluíram como padas quebradas. Secretos de secretos desabalam. Oliver gritou, tentando empurrar-se para Thor. Mas Thor ficava sua barreira. Fistas desabaladas. Determinação cavada a cada uma da sua roupa. A mil servantes. Bedes poero poeira. Nathaniel sentiu a urgência virar em pânico já. "Temos que mover. Agora." Abraçou Mia, e por um instante, it felt like they could escape this nightmare. A sudden blast echoed, shaking the foundation. "Run," Nathaniel yelled. They bolted towards the exit, heartbeats thundering in sync. Behind them, the room erupted as walls crumbled, screams mingled. With dust and shadows flickered like ghosts of their past. But just when it seemed they might escape, an explosion reverberated, heavy, air-sucking. Nathaniel turned to see Rebecca, eyes wild with chaos, clutching that detonator. "This isn't over," she screeched, flesh and fury boiling over. "Rebecca!" Nathaniel screamed, horrified. "Make it stop." But she was lost in the game, the family's twisted legacy consuming her. Oliver lunged, and the two collided, a blur of noise and chaos. "You think you can control everything?" he spat, grappling with Thor. Grunts and shouts, along with the crashing sounds, filled the air, drowning out everything else. Nathaniel pushed forward, trying to reach Mia. "We need to go," he yelled. "Again, Frantic." Thor finally overpowered Oliver, pinindo ele. "Estopem este maluco!" ele chamou, mas não havia razão com o caos. Naquele momento, Nathaniel se encontrou perdido pelo flash selado entre elas. Quando a fuma lançou para eles, Oliver deitou consciente, e por trás dele, um silêncio fraturado envolvia a casa. "Está todo mundo bem?" Sem medo. Ele escaneou rapidamente para ver Mia no bolso, clutching their son close to her heart. "Let's get out," she urged, voice steadying. With one last look back at the wreckage, the mangled family he once knew, Nathaniel grabbed Mia and their son. They fled through the exit, propelled by instinct and horror, emerging into the bright sunlight, gasping for fresh air. The chaos behind them faded into silence. They stood together, hearts pounding, etched with uncertainty. The threat may have receded, but the scars ran deep. As they caught their breath, Nathaniel cradled Mia and their son, that simple act grounding him amid the storm. Their bond was stronger than the betrayals they had faced. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together," Nathaniel promised, knowing at that moment they would create their own truth, separate from the darkness surrounding them. And just as the sun began to set, casting a warm glow, a new journey lay ahead, a chance to rebuild, to redefine themselves amidst the ruins of the past. With that resolve, hope threaded through the uncertainty that still lingered. But deep in Nathaniel's heart, shadows still loomed, the twisted legacy of his family casting a long shadow. Who could he really trust? And what new truths awaited them? You need to subscribe now, because the journey continues. Don't wait 1 second longer to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to know about this finale. Press that like button now te feed algoritmo, equipe a comunidade travando. Frude as comentaristas com as suas reações e teorias do que poderá acontecer de próximo. Essa é a hora de mostrar o seu apoio e, com certeza, para a próxima aventura.